Okay, now we shall be going into the third point, that is your France abolishes monarchy and becomes a republic. The whole of the story is still continuing in that direction, like the revolutions are going on. Why actually the revolutions are going on? Because monarch was not giving those all facilities, the citizens were not happy with whatever was going on in the country. So a kind of revolution has come, and it becomes not removing the monarch, rather going into some rules and regulations where the country can be peacefully led and people want a peaceful country for themselves. This is what the revolution is. They did not want to remove the monarch from the king has to be removed and the democracy has to come. That was not the point, and in the last point we have discussed about, it is the constitutional monarch. The rules were written and even the monarch had to follow those rules and regulations. In the before one, when we say it is monarch, the king, he is having absolute power. And it is like whatever he feels like, he makes the rules. Whenever he wants to, he breaks the rules. He is according to his will and wish. So this is the next part. The process is going on. We have learned in this last point saying that some rules were formed, that is your constitution. Now how the next step goes on with, it is they are trying to remove the whole of the monarch and the constitution, the republic is to be, has to come into the country. The process is still more getting intensified, and slowly the monarch will be deleted and you will be having a democratic country or a republic country with the people involved into that one along with your elections and all. So the story goes on like this. Louis signed, with this one also it was in the last part. Louis signed the constitution. He finally thought of, it is very difficult. I cannot withstand this revolution. So let me make a hand with them, have a handshake with the people, the National Assembly, so that I'll be safe and I'll have my kingship. I'm not going to lose my power, or else might be, if at all the revolution goes on intensified there, might be he loses his power that he has sensed. So he just gave his hand. He said, okay, whatever the rules you have put for king, I shall be following that, and accordingly I will be the king here. And here what happens in constitutional monarch? He is the king. There is no election for the king. The next cabinet will be having, his darbar will be having the election, but his son also, his son will be the king next. His generation will be holding the kingship. But the lower one, the cabinet will not be having the kingship there, rather it becomes the election part. Only the lower part will be in the election form, that becomes your rule here. So he very intelligently, he has given a handshake and he says, I'm going to, he has signed up saying that I am into the constitution. I'll be following the constitution and I will be the king of this country. Okay, that was also okay with the people, and they started, they wanted to go on along with that. But what this Louis XVI is doing, so we are into that one. See the second point. He enters into the secret negotiation with Prussia. Here it is Prussia. It is not Persia. Persia is the present country we have, that is a different country which has nothing to do with this chapter. This Prussia, make a note here, this Prussia, at that time it was existing, now it doesn't exist after World War II. At that time it was like playing a very important role in the whole of the revolutions and all. Now it has become a part of Poland and Russia. They have taken the Prussia, they have divided themselves, and the territory got divided into Poland and Russia, and now Prussia doesn't exist. But we shall be talking here. He went with the negotiations. Louis XVI, he had a handshake in the country with the National Assembly saying that I will be along with you, I will be going with the constitutional monarch. At the same time, secretly from the back door, he went to these countries, neighboring countries, Prussia, Austria, and he said, I want your help here so that I can sustain my kingship, or else I may lose my powers. He wanted his absolute power. The king, whatever enjoys the absolute power, he wanted those. He was not happy with this constitutional powers. It was altogether, somebody is saying something and he had to do accordingly, that he was not enjoying. He secretly went with negotiations with these countries, and those countries thought of helping France. Why? Because some events were going on in France and they were also visualizing those things, and they were also in little fright. whatever the events are going in France, that the neighboring countries, other revolutionary people also will be looking into, and those countries are also having their all small protests and the revolutions in their country, and that too because of France. So the thought of, let us help France and let us send some of the troops here. So whatever we can subside the things, let us send the troops here. He wanted those countries to send their troops into the country because his troop has become a constitutional part. So he asked for the help, and those were sending the troops. The neighboring countries were tensed. They sent troops to put down the events of the France. The military troops were coming in from the neighboring countries, and whatever the events were going on in the country, they wanted to put a stop to those all things, and they wanted to see that the monarch is getting his power back. The constitutional monarch is abolished, and monarch will be having, so that they also will be having their own monarchism there, their kingship is safe there. If something like revolution is going on in France, it becomes a inspiration to the other countries where the monarch is not good. So those people also will be thinking of going into revolutions, and they will be taking the ideas from France. So they did not want this to happen, and they wanted to put an end to such kind of events like revolutionary events in France. The next one is National Assembly voted in April 1792. See here. Here it was actually 1789. They thought of we shall be sending, the negotiations were going on, but the act did not take place. Before that, only National Assembly has taken one more step, and it is in 1792 they thought of we shall be announcing a war against Prussia and Austria, because Prussia and Austria, they were actually supporting Louis XVI, they came to know. So they thought of, before those people send the troops into our country, they did not yet send here, and the National Assembly has announced a war. We shall be having the war with those countries, and we want to stop those troops coming into our country, and we want to go with the revolution. So here, whatever our Louis XVI was doing, the distress he was doing here, the unfaithful act he was doing with his own country people, the National Assembly came to know about that one. So they have taken a decision. Then they thought of declaring a war against Prussia and Austria. Then as soon as this declaration was done, the people from their own country voluntarily started rushing towards the army to join into army, so that they can participate in the war against Russia and Prussia. Not Russia, Prussia and Austria. So they wanted to, they were like, nobody was calling them. Voluntarily, many of the youth people, they started coming into and joining the army and supporting National Assembly. See here, this is the point here. The Marsalis song was sung. There was a song, like for example, we have Vande Mataram, Inqilab Zindabad, we had some of the hymns going on. These all patriotic, at the time of nationalism, these patriotic sentences and songs we have. The same way they also had Marsalis to be one of the songs. And when these troops were entering into Marsalis, at that time they started singing it. So the song's name was Marsalis. They sang it, and the whole of the revolution went on. And this particular song, later on after the revolution, after they got that democracy, they have declared that song to be the national anthem, which is today's national anthem of France. Okay. As we were talking about, as the revolutions were going on, there were lots of clubs were getting formed. Many people, they were forming the groups, and they were giving some of the other names to their clubs. Even women were participating in the revolutions, and even women were having their own clubs. Out of these all clubs, Jacobin Club was the famous one which got very popularized in those times, and it worked very hard, and it was the first one which went off into the first election. So here we shall be talking about what exactly this Jacobin Club is. It is separately we are talking like it is Jacobin Club, a short notes. So you will be having 10 to 15 points here. So please make a note of these points in your textbooks, in your notebooks, so that it is becoming an answer. When the points are noted, it becomes randomly, when you at least put 6 to 7 points, it becomes an answer. Look into the Jacobin Club short note. This was a political club, and the leader was Maximilian Robespierre, and he was the leader. He led this club. Every club there was a leader. There were many of the leaders there, And here for this particular, because this is the famous one and which actually is into the history of French Revolution, so we are knowing about this Jacobin Club. So Maximilien Robespierre was the leader of this one. And when we say it is Jacobin Club, it is actually from where did this club get its name? That is Jacobin Club. It is from Saint Jacob in Paris. From here it got its influence and they thought of keeping this club's name as Jacobin Club. It was inspired by this name. The less prosperous, and who were the members of this group? It was obvious who goes into revolution. As we were talking about three of the estates. First estate, second estate had nothing to do with the revolutions. They were prosperous, they had all the privileges. The third estate was the suffering one. So obviously it is going into revolution. So the members also will be the people of third estate only. Like for example, shopkeepers, artisans, shoemakers, pastry cooks, printers, servants and daily wage workers. All the prosperous people as well as these kind of people were the members of Jacobin Club. We shall be seeing the fourth point. The next point is Jacobins. They wanted to have a identity, so they decided they wanted to have a different kind of cloth through which they can be identified as if they belong to this particular group, club. So people in the society also identify and they can refer to, they can have the help, they can talk to those people because everything was going in a revolutionary form, and to identify those people there should be something a different one. So it is a sense of identity. So they decided to have a long stripped trousers. The ladies were having a long skirt like one, and the gents were having the trousers and strips. It is in your textbook, it was drawn there, you can look into that one. And here it is only to be written like this, long strips, red strips were the trousers they were wearing. And they were even wearing like it was a red cap to symbolize they wanted liberty. When they wear red cap, it is we wanted liberty is the sense we get from that one. And these clothes were known as sans cloths, which in French language means that it is the people who are not wearing knee breeches. What are these knee breeches? The trousers we are wearing which are till knees only, those are known as capris, now we say that. Those are worn by the royal families only and those were known as your knee breeches. The people who are not wearing those knee breeches and they were using the stripped ones and it was till the ankle length, whole of the trouser they were wearing, this dress was known as sans cloths. That meaning says the people without knee breeches. And why exactly they wanted to show this one? Because they wanted to show it is different from the royal family. They are away from there, apart from the royal family. Royal family is using knee breeches to show their royalty. Now here they are showing that we are different and we belong to a next category. Might be it is a different club there, so they wanted to get identified in that way, and they wanted to even show they were different. They wore red caps symbolizing liberty. Okay, now we are having the next point. It is they were angered by the inflation and the food shortage. Whatever the conditions were going on in France, the whole of the public was so very suffering and they were totally angered. So they were having so much of anger. So this Jacobin has declared an attack onto these royal families, royals and clergies who were actually having so much of privileges and they were not letting the food come outside. And whatever the food was available in the country, due to it is less of production, due to it is any of the natural calamities, they have very limited food. But still that food also was not coming into the hands of the common people. And that was hoarded away, that we have learnt. So due to these kind of conditions, these Jacobins thought of attacking the royal families. They planned an attack on the Parisians, the Paris people. The next point is they thought of attacking, they thought of taking the revenge, or they were like so much of anger. In that series, in that event only, they have thought of on 10th of August, they stormed King's Palace, Louis XVI. They entered and they wanted to destroy the whole of, and that was the case in 1792. The king guards were massacred, the whole guards who were killed there, massacred in a mass killing, and the royal family imprisoned. The king, queen, Mary Antoinette, they were imprisoned. And later on you will read into, they were killed also, we'll read later. Next, after this one, they had an election on 21st September 1792, the same date. And later on, after a few months, September, the convention abolished the monarchy, declared France a republic. So finally, the whole of the monarchy was totally removed and the country was totally under the constitution, that is total republic. Before they were having the constitution, but they said it is constitutional monarch. But that monarch did not work well. He did not support and he was so very, like he was greedy, he was going with all kinds of his, not following the rules and regulations. So now these events have led to removal of monarch totally and declaring France as a republic, totally under the control of constitution. All men of, and in this a very important point they have added up, like it was at that time they were having 25 years to be the voting right, only the privileged men, the propertied men, the tax giving men were allowed to go for the voting. Now see here, they have changed it, but not as we have taken into adult franchise and all, but here some more nice things they have done, like it is, all men of 21 years and regardless to wealth got the right of vote. Still they could not include women into that one. We can think about it as 1700s this time is going on. At that time they could not even think of taking the revolution into all the women also participate or they are given the rights equal to the men. But they have made so many rules to change, like it is every man, to the from the poor to the highest level, whoever men, they were allowed to go into participation or they were given the right to vote. So the whole of the revolution was going on. After this revolution, the king was imprisoned there, and later the next after the conviction was going on, he got executed, and the next day even the queen got executed. They killed them because whatever the events they have gone with, they were found guilty and they killed king and the queen. Like later on, Jacobins became the elected representatives and they started holding the country when the country becomes republic and France became republic. This is how the revolution has led, and this is what the important or the vital part played by the Jacobin Club in the revolution. And finally, even when the whole of the revolution was going on, it was of course playing a vital part and other clubs also were supporting, but this was a major club. And when the elections were conducted, this got the maximum seats and it becomes the elected representative of the country. And this is how it comes to the whole of the end of the revolution and how the country becomes your republic. But the story doesn't end here. We have something else going on. It is not a happy ending. We got the republic and we are all happy. The France did not feel that well. But after that also some are the other problems it has taken, it has suffered under the Jacobins also. Jacobins have become the representative. Under their supervision also they started suffering, the Paris started suffering, the France started suffering. So let us go into those details, like we can talk about. It is the reign of terror.